Hello and welcome to the DJ Force 10 In Conversation podcast, episode 187. And my very special guest on today's show is Shane from the band DZ Deathrays. They've got a new single out at the moment called All or Nothing, which is on Alcopop Records. And they've got a brand new album coming out in July called Positive Rising Part 2. And I'm only just recently discovered this band. I know they've been around for a little bit. And yeah, loving it. If that indie rock, indie fuzz rock, if you love that sort of stuff, they're absolutely fantastic, and hopefully once the world opens up again they'll be able to get over here from Australia and tour again over here, which will be fantastic. But we'll leave that to the interview. We have a lovely chat on there. I want to thank Shane for staying up late, his end, and we basically, because there's a massive time difference between here and Australia, so I want to thank him for that. And yeah, it was an absolute pleasure chatting to him. Apart from that, everything else has been relatively fine. I guess the Bucks just won the Super Bowl, so I'm pretty happy about that. Maybe missed Tampa though. All those City shots on the coverage and all that kind of stuff. It was absolutely fantastic, and it was lovely to see Tampa Bay win another major trophy, along with the Stanley Cup and the American League in baseball. And the Eastern Conference for the Rowdies as well, which is absolutely brilliant. So it's good to see where I used to be doing so well. Also, live streaming stuff once a month. Schism Twitch page at Schism Rock Club on Twitch. We're going to be doing, we have been doing live DJ sets and stuff in a virtual nightclub. So thank you to any of my listeners that joined me there, and anyone that's curious about it. We play rock, metal, and party music till stupid o'clock in the morning, so come join us. It's the first Friday of every month. Also, I'm going to be starting doing stuff on the TotalRock Twitch channel as well, and that's just twitch.tv/TotalRock. Please come give us a follow, and yeah, there's going to be some content on there. Some of my recorded interviews are going to be broadcast on there, along with the YouTube channels and all that kind of stuff. But Twitch at the moment, I'm looking to expand that platform, just purely to give me little bit more stuff to do on that front, and help expose new bands, new music, and all that kind of stuff. So it's all good. But I'm not going to keep you much longer, because quite frankly I am freezing right now in my studio. The heating's been off all day and it's been snowing outside, so we are in minus degrees, if you will, in here. So without much further ado, I give you Shane from DZ Deathrays. Enjoy. So, I would like to welcome to the show today, I have Shane from the band DZ Deathrays. Welcome, Shane.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely my pleasure, man. Yeah, I'm loving your music. I've only recently discovered you guys, thanks to Alcopop and Wall of Sound. And yeah, I went back and I listened to the part one of Positive Rising. Yeah. And really enjoyed it. Really loved Nightmare Wrecker, I think it was called. Nightmare? Yeah, really love that track. But yeah, obviously here to talk about your new stuff, because that was released a couple of years back. You've got a new single out right now called All or Nothing, and it's currently available across all the sort of streaming services and whatnot at the moment. And you've got a part 2 of Positivity Rising due out. Yeah. When's that coming out? What date? Have you got a date?
I believe it's. I should know this, but it has been pushed back so many times. I think it's the 6th of July.
6th of July,
somewhere in the start of July,
somewhere around.
But yeah, it's been pushed back a few times. So we never really had solid dates, but originally it was supposed to come out, I think, early last year, early to mid, around March, and then it was like, oh no, we'll push to September. And then it was like to March, April this year, 2021, and then now it's July. So I'm glad it's finally got a release date, because we finished this record so long ago. Yeah. So and we've just been over through COVID, like writing an entirely new record.
Yeah.
So yeah, the landscape's completely changed now, and it's a bit weird not being able to sort of like put a record out and then tour it, and then have 6 months away and then put another record out and tour it. It's been kind of a bit more of a shambles.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, you're not the only one, or not the only band in this kind of
totally.
merry-go-round that we're kind of going through at the moment. But obviously, you're over in Australia right now.
Yeah.
So the time difference between us right now. So again, thank you for doing this.
It's all right, no worries.
So what's the sort of like, because we get filtered some news from obviously world news through our media here, but what's the sort of situation like in Australia at the moment with the sort of COVID pandemic and all that kind of stuff that's going on at the moment?
I mean, depending on where you are in Australia, so if you're living in Western Australia, it's 100% what it normally is.
Cool.
I think they've had festivals. You can go to gigs. You can go to nightclubs. I'm on the East Coast. I'm in Sydney. Sydney is probably the worst at the moment. And even that, you can still go to the pub. You can still, go out for dinner.
Yeah.
But in terms of gigs, there's no gigs really, unless they're sort of sit down, small capacity. So a lot of like my friends are doing, acoustic shows, and I have been to a couple of sit down shows, and they're pretty good. But I do miss that thing of like a sweaty room, and the atmosphere and the vibe between people connecting in there. And I know it will come back, but it's a long road. But yeah, it's, in terms of Australia, we've pretty much don't have many cases unless they're coming from overseas.
Okay.
So we're really in that management sort of mode where the people come in, they have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then, they're keeping everyone tested. And if someone does have it in the community, they're tracking everywhere they've gone and trying to find everyone who potentially could have it, testing them and trying to sort of suppress it as much as possible. We've been doing this for like, a year now, pretty much, and it has worked. But without its issues, obviously, like anything, this is all new to everyone.
Yeah.
And Melbourne had a pretty rough trot last year, but they're doing really, really well now, and they're doing, there's like bands like Clowns are playing in venues and stuff. Yeah, limited capacity.
Yeah.
But still, they're getting to go and to do a show with people standing up.
Yeah. And how have you guys adapted to this sort of like the situation? Like, because I've seen a lot of bands do like live streaming, acoustic or full on live performances. How have you guys sort of like kept in touch with people?
Well, it's quite hard because I live in Sydney, Simon lives in Brisbane, and Lachlan lives in Melbourne. So between the three of us, there's 2,000 kilometres in distance.
Yeah.
And the one thing that has happened in Australia that might not have happened in America or the UK is we've had state border closures, which has been really tough because I have family in different states. We are a band that spreads over 3 states.
Yeah.
We need to be able to work and to be able to, I was to get on an airplane like it was a bus.
Yeah.
And now, I went on 2 airplanes last year. And yeah, it's been really hard in terms of trying to get together to do video clips, to do these live sessions. So for us, we actually haven't seen each other as a band together. We haven't played a single note together since March 13 last year. Yeah. Wow. So it's the longest we've ever had apart from each other in 12 years. I caught up with Lachlan finally on the weekend just gone, and I have seen Simon a few times, but not the three of us haven't been together. It's always something's happened where Melbourne's in lockdown, or then New South Wales is in lockdown, and Queensland shut their border to, it's just this thing where you don't know what's going to happen. And it's really hard to plan stuff. Yeah,
no, that must be incredibly difficult. It's I mean, it's a testament to your sort of like the brotherhood in your band to sort of like that you're still going as well, because a lot of bands kind of that I've known have kind of like, because they haven't been able to stay in contact, get together, have like called it a day or got into like an indefinite hiatus or anything like that. But yeah, no, it's a testament to, I mean, like I say, I went back, I listened to your stuff and I'm loving it. I didn't realize you guys have been around for as long as you have, but obviously, you know, me being in the UK, you being in Australia, there might be, you know, the PR sort of side of things may not always hit me. So
yeah, I mean, this is a thing, like with music, is you never know when you're going to pick up a new fan or a new listener. And I think, especially with the internet now, it's so much easier than when we first started out. You know, it was, we were coming to the UK, but like Spotify and Apple Music and like the big names, they weren't really doing what they're doing now. So yeah, it was very much like, oh, you want to make it in America or the UK? We'll get over there and do 20, 30 shows and start getting your name out that way. But now, well, I mean, there's bands in Australia that I know have, you know, leapfrogged a lot of other bands just because people have just found them online and the community has sort of built around them, which is, you know, completely new and interesting. Yeah,
no, definitely. It's certainly strange because I was in a band in the sort of early 2000s and sort of seeing the resources that we have now. I was in a sort of DIY band, metal band, and you know we did all right. We released 3 albums, all that kind of stuff. But some of the resources, like especially online, that we have now is I would have loved to have had back then. Just for the reach and just for the sort of like just for the platform, really, because it's kind of like I always sort of like when I look at it now, I always see it as an equal platform. So you could have, you know, Foo Fighters releasing something, you could have Taylor Swift releasing something on the same day, and then you could have like a smaller sort of like unsigned or independent band releasing on the same day, and it's all on the same format. There's no sort of like throttling. There's no overwhelming stock of like in a record store. Like you'll get a massive display of Foo Fighters or Taylor Swift, and then you'll get your band. You have to go through the thing and find it under the initial that it's under. Whereas now you can kind of like you can find stuff so much easier online, especially on the screen.
Can. I do find sometimes it can be a little overwhelming in terms of music, and I'm like, oh, this what I want to listen to. Oh, I don't know, and maybe I just go back to what I've always listened to. But that was kind of also what I did with CDs before I, you know, I would get a CD and I would listen to it until it pretty much didn't play anymore. And now, I've got a fairly reasonable vinyl collection at home, and that's like our sort of like audiophile. Sit down and listen to a record on vinyl, and it's like kind of our thing. It's like, let's put a record on tonight, like rather than just stream something, because you can just do that whenever.
Yeah, no, I'm a DJ by trade, and I'm very much a vinyl DJ. So all around me at the moment, I'm not going to move my camera, but all around me at the moment, I've got like record boxes full of vinyl.
Look, I've DJed once using vinyl, and it's so hard because I was DJing punk music, and it's like, oh, these songs are like 2 minutes, and I'm trying to find the groove after 2 minutes is quite tough.
Yeah, it can prove difficult. Like I do like metal, rock, punk clubs here. And none of them actually, to be fair, I've ever done a vinyl set for them, which I really want to do at some point, but I've got my turntables next to me here, so you know, I do that online now. But you're right, with some of those punk tracks, because they're only like a minute and a half, 2 minutes long, and you're trying to, like, if it's on an album, you're like, no, this is going to be hard, especially in the dark.
That's it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's, you know, that's a whole different thing. I love vinyl. So it's, but you guys are actually, you're releasing your album. I mean, you've released your album on vinyl before, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. Every album has come out on vinyl. And it was like, you know, definitely something that we push for. I think that there's something so great about having a tangible object like a vinyl sleeve to look at the artwork, which, you know, a lot of work goes into. And then if you have a vinyl player or not, just to have it and just look at it is quite nice, and to read the liner notes and that sort of stuff. Yeah. I think it's quite important. I mean, I love reading the liner notes. I love learning about who did the artwork, who produced, who mixed, who mastered. You know, like those things are really important to me. Yeah. So, we always strive to get our records out there on vinyl, no matter
awesome.
what.
No, that's awesome, because I love the fact, like, obviously I love playing vinyl. I scratch it as well, so it's sort of, you know, I can manipulate those sort of like tracks and whatnot. But the big thing for me is that tangible object, is having that artwork, because it is like, as fine as it was on a CD at whatever size that is, but having like the 12-inch sleeve or gatefold, and you can actually get the intricate details of the artwork that's in there.
That's it.
And obviously the music is etched into this vinyl, as well. So
incredible.
It's like you're owning a piece of that, like that art, if you will. Whereas you know, a CD, it's kind of burnt on with a laser, so it doesn't really. MP3, it's, you know, as soon as if all the power cut in the world, all the MP3s would go. Whereas with vinyl, you can wind up an old gramophone or something and play that. But yeah, no,
this is the next thing after COVID.
Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, I can see it. It's it's the next stage, isn't it? But no, like I say, I've got vinyl all around me, and it's just sort of like, yeah, I love that format. It's something that, and I know it like died off, but I've loved seeing its resurgence across the world. Like I was living in the States for a bit, and going to like record store day events and stuff like that. They were just going to the record stores there, and it's kind of what you would imagine. It's a huge record warehouse, and you just go digging for. You could dig for days, weeks.
Amazing.
You know, like the sort of size of it. But yeah, no, I love that sort of like part of it. I don't miss carrying them around for gigs though. So.
No, quite heavy.
That's where like USB sticks and stuff come in handy these days. But so if I could, because I've already just heard of you guys, and it's sort of like mainly for the benefit of me, but we're kind of going to go back a bit. But I was wondering if I can get a bit of an origin story on the band, like how you guys got together and yeah, that kind of stuff. What your kind of influences are
for sure. Yeah, so Simon and I, we lived together in Brisbane. We've been friends since we were in high school.
Cool.
We grew up in a small town in Queensland, north of Brisbane. So we wanted to be in a rock band, and we had a band called Denzel. And our drummer, it was the same layout as we have now, which is 2 guitars and a drummer. And Simon actually played guitar, and I played guitar and did vocals, and we had another drummer. And he left, and Simon was learning drums at that point. This is 2008, I think. And we said, well, we live in the same house. Should you just jump on and we'll just keep jamming some of those things that we've been jamming ourselves? And we sort of shortened the name from Denzel to DZ.
Yep.
And from there, we were, very much figuring things out as we've gone along. Been learning our instruments, learning how to write songs as we've gone along. So then we put our first record out in 2012. So that was about 4 years. So there's about 4 years worth of tracks there that went on that first record, Bloodstreams. And then the wheels were rolling, and it was like, okay, so then we have to do another record. It felt like getting the first one out was sort of the hardest thing ever. And then now it's just like, okay, let's start working on the next thing or the nect project. What's it going to be? So yeah, we've done a lot of touring over the years. And on the second record called Black Rat, we did add, so we were very much traditionally a 2-piece rock band. We could play, there was some overdubbing and stuff on record, but we'd mostly be live 2-piece. And then on the second record, we did layer some extra guitar lines. And it was one of those things where it's like, what do you do? Do you get a backing track for one little guitar line, or do we just get someone to play and we can just beef up the sound? So we had a few different people sort of play alongside us over the years. And then our friend Lachlan, who lives in Melbourne, who we had met previously on another tour in Australia with his band, we asked him to join. And so the rest is history. That was 2016, I think, that he joined, 2016. So he's been with us a fair while. And both the Positive Rising Part 1 and 2, he's had a huge part in writing those songs as well. So I found that after the third record, when I was writing stuff for whatever was next, it was getting a bit like, it just seems to be the same thing as what I've done over and over. I'm getting a bit trapped. And then working with Lachlan was really great because he just thinks completely different to me in terms of like the way he puts together a song. The key, he usually writes in a minor key. I usually write in a major key. So you get a good sort of like contrast between the two of us. And then Simon also writes as well. So the three of us all putting our heads together really sort of fast-tracked the next lot of writing. And that's why Positive Rising is a part 1 and 2, because we had so many tracks that we were like, all right, we want to do a double record. We want to do something different. Lachlan's doing the writing as well now. So we'll do a 2-parter and we'll release them quite close to each other. Well, then COVID happened. And so then it's pushed it back. So now it feels like it's like just 2 records, but they're supposed to be together. They were all written at the same time.
Yeah.
All the songs. So they were recorded at separate stages, but yeah, and that's sort of taken us to here, which is, I mean, we were lucky. We got to last year, we got to go over and we did a tour with The Darkness. I don't know if you remember them.
Yes. Yeah.
We toured through Europe with them, which was actually just so fantastic, and played some amazing rooms throughout Europe and some cities that we'd never been to before. And that was sort of as COVID was hitting, and we were in Italy and we were playing these, massive shows in Italy, and then we sort of cruised our way up, but we went up to Scandinavia, and we were in Scandinavia, and people in Italy are freaking out because it's getting really bad there. We're like, oh. And so we were just ahead of it the entire time. And then we got home to Australia and did a couple of shows, and then everything got the pin pulled on it. And that's kind of takes us up to here. We've done a lot of touring over the years. Toured the US, been to China, been to Southeast Asia, a lot of Australian shows, obviously. It's our sort of bread and butter here. And, but we've been able to make it as a sort of turn it into a career, which is tough at times, but also like the most rewarding thing ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds amazing. Like, when I was in a band, we toured Europe and stuff, and supported big bands and whatnot, and had that kind of like taste of it and run off on our own shows. But did you ever think it would take you that far? Did you ever think it would take you kind of around the world? Was that kind of, obviously it's probably not your initial plan, but...
No, look, when we first started, Simon and I, all we wanted to do was get out of Brisbane. Like, I had been in an indie band for a couple of years, and then we had our little band as well on the side of that. And then the indie band fell apart, and then our band fell apart. So we're like, okay, let's just play shows. So we did about only 9 months of shows in Brisbane, just kind of doing like little dive bars or nightclub shows. And we were like, let's just, as soon as we can, get down to Sydney and just get out of Brisbane, because we didn't want to get stuck in the Brisbane bubble. And so we did that. And that was our first thing. We're like, all right, let's just get out. We went there to Sydney, played 2 shows to pretty much no one. One of the shows, there was a crowd that left as we were playing, the classic. But we kept going back, and we ended up scoring a tour with Crystal Castles randomly by chance, which meant that we were doing maybe 150 people in Brisbane. And then the next sort of week we were going over to Perth and playing in front of 1,000 supporting Crystal Castles. So it was like a huge step for us. And from there we just sort of kept going, but we just did this thing where we were like, let's just see how far we can take it. Let's not have an end goal. The end goal is not to be like Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
The end goal is just to see how far it goes.
Yeah.
If it's not like, if it plateaus, that's fine. Just keep going with whatever, as long as you're having fun. And, Simon and I definitely have spoken about this many, many times, but we sort of said to ourselves, we were like, let's see how we feel at 10 years. And if we are not enjoying it, we can stop.
Yeah.
But that means we've given it a decade of our lives. And we got to 10 years and we were like, man, this is so fun still. So why stop? So, and it's just been, I've just been more so much more involved. And the things at the start that were hard, like writing songs where we were just like, all we want to do is go into a punk bar and just make noise. But the songs were kind of half written. But now it's like, I love sitting in the studio and I love crafting a song and getting it to that point to then take out to the world. And I think it's like just something that you kind of you get into a lot more as you sort of write more music.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just take it as it comes kind of thing for us.
Cool. No, I like that attitude. That's good. That's good. So what are your guys, it's a silly question. We've already kind of covered some of it, but what were your sort of guys' plans ahead? When obviously I don't know when things are going to open up, because here we're in full lockdown right now. You know, so obviously you won't be coming over here anytime soon. But in Australia, do you sort of have an inkling of when you might be able to sort of like put something together and maybe do something?
Yeah, we're trying for later in the year. I think we had some shows booked for March, which were originally in November last year, some really small shows.
Yeah.
And we kind of just said, like, there's no point. And it's kind of weird at the moment. We have to do something at some point. And Australia, they got capacity limits and people are starting to do shows, but we're hoping sort of by just after sort of the end of our winter into spring, around sort of August, we'll be doing some shows, with the album have just coming out. So that's the plan.
Yep.
If depending on what the show is going to be, we don't know.
Okay.
They could be sit down shows. They could be full shows. They could be half capacity standing. I don't know. There's no answer. So I think we just got to the thing where it's been a whole year. We haven't even played a single note together. We need to get together and do some shows.
Yeah.
Just for our own sanity.
Yeah. yes, definitely. But I've got a couple of questions left for you, Shane.
Yeah.
If that's all right, and I can let you.
Yeah.
I think because it's late there, so I'll probably let you go to bed.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. Fantastic. All right, cool. Yeah. Well, what I'd like to know, what are if you could whittle them down to 3 albums, the ones that were real sort of pinnacle moments for you. So the one that, for instance, if you want to give me the one that made you want to be in a band, for instance.
Yeah. Okay. So it's pretty tough, but I would say 3 pinnacle moments. So one was Silent Alarm by Block Party.
Yeah.
And when I got that record, it was a CD. I remember putting it in my Discman and walking. I was like, I'm just going to walk home from the city and listen to it on repeat.
Nice.
And this is in my formative years. I've just finished high school. I had first year of uni or second year, I can't remember, first year maybe. And I just fell in love with it. I thought never heard anything like it. And another record is Pink by Boris.
Cool.
It's, I don't know if you know, Boris, Japanese, psych punk metal band.
Yeah.
They also do atmospheric drone. I mean, they do so much stuff and they're incredible and they're amazing live. And that record just really struck me. It was so wild and brash and interesting. And it was great because I didn't know any of the lyrics, but I still fell in love with it. So that was definitely, I think, one of the ones that sort of made us think about sort of the way we play music, and the way it can be sort of nasty and sound like it's all getting distorted and clipping out and still sound musical and great. And I guess, Simon and I as a 2-piece, when we first started out, it's the first record from Death from Above. Is it You're a Woman, I'm a Machine?
Yeah.
And it's I mean, we just smashed. It was like that, and then Bronx One. Those 2 records, we were just on repeat for us.
Nice.
And that also I was like, well, they can do it. They can make a 2-piece sound huge.
Yeah.
Surely we can. And so we took a lot of inspiration from that. Nowadays I still really, really get into that record, and I still really like their new stuff when it comes out. But I don't sort of see it as like, okay, we need to be that two-piece like them. It's like that was such a great sort of launch pad for us to sort of realize that we didn't need to have it at the start. But yeah. So there would be 3 records that, and they're all kind of from a while back.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I mean, Block Party, I mean, they're from here. That album was kind of everywhere here when it came out.
Yeah.
And I sort of caught my eye because I was sort of like, I'm into a lot of music, obviously, being in the thing that I'm in, but I love sort of like, I went through sort of like the Brit pop age, so Oasis, Blur, Cast, Charlatans, all that kind of stuff. And then sort of coming out of that and hearing Block Party, especially when they fused sort of more, they had a kind of an electronic element to them as well. Yeah. Which I loved, and that album was great. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to Virus. I think I haven't heard them for a long time. So, but yeah, Death from Above. I actually, when did I saw them live supporting Deftones and Incubus.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was an amazing show in because I used to live in like I said, I used to live in the States, and it was in Florida, and they were the opening act on this like tour package, and yeah, totally kind of blew me away for an opening band in an amphitheater. I wasn't expecting much, but yeah, they're fantastic, and yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that. I haven't heard that album for a little while, so
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, it's excellent. So. Last question. What are your hobbies away from music? Because obviously you haven't been sort of doing much in the band ways in the last year, but did you have anything, or have you developed any kind of hobbies in that time?
Yeah, it's tough. I am pretty music driven, and it sort of directs my entire life. But I guess, this year the last year in terms of hobbies, I've tried to get back into reading, which is something that I wish I was better at, and I have been really enjoying it. And yeah, a little bit of video gaming.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so we've been getting into that quite a bit over the last year, which is a perfect year sort of to do it. But honestly, music is my number one, and it's just like it's everything I do. And when I'm not writing songs, DZ Deathrays, like more rock stuff, I'm spending a lot of time just jamming ideas and figuring out heaps of different styles and genres, and I actually love sort of trying to learn how to play within another genre so that I can kind of take that away and take it back to writing for DZ Deathrays and trying to make sure that band feels a little bit like a bit more creative, and it can go in different directions, and it's not sort of just a one direction sort of thing.
Cool. What games are you playing at the moment, if any?
We actually had a track on the Tony Hawk reissue. So we got PS. I hadn't had a PS for so long, and I got a PS4, and I got the game, and so that was like really great to go back and play. Nice. It's like Tony Hawk 1 and 2, remastered. So that was really great. And when we were on just before COVID and we were doing a couple of tours, and we went to Europe, and we went to Canada, and then we went back to Europe, and we all had Nintendo Switches.
Oh, nice.
So we were all doing like a bit of like gameplay in the green room, and I think it was like amazing because we were playing Rocket League so much.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I think the Darkness guys must have thought we were super weird because there'd be us four sitting in the tiny little dressing room playing Rocket League, screaming at each other before a show, and that's how we kind of warmed up. Like, we weren't like smashing beers, we were playing Rocket League.
Yeah.
But it was quite nice because there's a lot of downtime when you're on tour, so having a gaming console is great. So yeah, that was a great game. And then I've definitely honed in on my Mario Kart 8 skills, just bursting the Japanese kids while in COVID.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. No, and the Switch is a great machine, actually.
It's so good.
Yeah. I haven't got one myself, but I've played on them, and a couple of my friends have got them, and yeah, No, it's definitely on my list at some point to grab. So
yeah, well, I just got Last of Us, like the first one to play, and then my friend's going to give me number 2. I'm semi apprehensive about playing because I know that I'm going to get into it, and then I'll spend all my time just playing that game rather than writing music. But I need to find the balance.
Yes, you need to find the balance. You need that break as well. You never know, it might inspire you in some way. I mean, that game is heavily cinematic and very what's the word, it'll draw you in. It's very involved, so good luck with that.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, Shane, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate your time with this, and good luck with all things DZ Deathrays. I hope to see you guys live once we're back open here, because now that I've discovered you, I want to see it live because I'm loving the recordings. So
awesome. As soon as we can, we will.
Excellent, man. Well, you have a good rest of your night. So be good, be well.
Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.